about the mine project?
Yeah, it was. I'd only been there about just over 2 years, and I'd worked my way up to a floater, which is you were a miner if there was people off sick, and you went into their place if people were away, I quite enjoyed the mine. It was you sort of had to keep your wits about you, because you had to read the signs if things were sort of not right. You had to sort of watch yourself. It was a dangerous job, but I think getting at home at 1:30, 2 o'clock most days, probably 3 weeks or a month holiday at Christmas time, and
Great.
and then in the summertime when there wasn't the same demand for coal, you might have had the odd day off. So it was it was a good job.
What was your job? What was your job entail? What did you do? In the ground?
Well, when I first went there, I worked on, as they called it, on top. That was the boxes of coal would come up from underground, and it was our job to unhook them off the end. And they had a big endless rope that went round and round in circles, but it went right down to the bottom of the mine where they put the boxes on, and it would come up. Full ones would come up one side, around into the screen area, and the empties would go down the other side. That sort of balanced it up. And our job was, there was generally about 5 of us worked on top, as we called it. Our job was to unhook the full ones off and run them into the area where they were weighed. Each miner who filled his boxes had a token with his number on it, and that token was taken off, and the guy on the tumbler, well, I think we called it at that time, called out the number. There was a man wrote the number down, and the weight of that box was registered against that man's name, and the miner got paid for what he filled a day. And then it would turn over, the coal would empty out into a conveyor belt that took it up to a big hopper, and then the empty would go right around in a semicircle, and it would go back on the rope, so it could go back down the mine in a rake of about 12 empties at a time.
Okay.
So there was full ones coming up, and there was empty ones going down. Miners got paid for how much they filled a day, and if they got 40 a day, which they said was good money. If they filled 40 a day in their places where they were mining, they were on good money.
Right.
And then I got the chance to go underground, which was a bit scary at first, just with a small light on your helmet and a battery on your back. But I was a rope runner down there, which was putting the empty boxes into lay-by and pulling the full ones out, and all that was worked by you just swung on a wire or a small wire rope, and away somewhere where you couldn't see, something would bang, a bit of steel would bang against something, and if you give 3 bangs, the winchman would know to pull it out, and if you give it 1 bang, it would stop it, and if you give it 2 bangs, it would mean reverse it or let it go back. So, and then I was a trucker off the miners that we used to take the empty into the miners so they could fill it up and then push it out while they filled another one up. And then I was a floater. They called that was we were just learner miners. I dare say, you might say we were. Yeah. Right. Got to do that a few times in the winter time when there was people off with flu or the odd wee injury or things like that. Yeah.
Do you ever remember a tragic accident or something happening in the mine, or?
Not in the time I was there, but there was. I remember coming home from school one day, and the doctor was leaving home, and I said, "What's the doctor doing here?" And Mum said, "Oh, he's around to see your father. He got buried by a coal fall." And he had been shoveling coal, and the next thing the coal just fell off the face, and he got virtually buried. He was he hadn't had a shower. He was lying in bed, and with just abrasions on arms and his back and things, but 2 or 3 days and they was back on the job. It was part and parcel of the job. But
Yeah.
it was a bit scary when you're just a young lad. But I never ever seen any serious accidents in the 2 odd years I worked in the mine. But there had been accidents. Yeah.
And then you remember it shutting?
Yeah, I was actually when they said it was going to shut down, you sort of had to make a decision what you were going to do, and I'd only actually I was getting married that Christmas, and I thought, well, I've got to move on, so I went down to the freezing works and I applied for a job there, and I can always remember getting a ring to say I had a job there and when I was to start, and about a couple of days later, Al Hall, who was the manager, or not, he was the underviewer, he was just below the manager. He walked past me and says, "When do you leave it, Barney?" And I says, "In about a fortnight, Alf." Good. That's all he said, because he was probably, the writing was on the wall, it was going to close down the following year, so we had to get out. Or, most of us younger ones, we sort of went to the freezing works.
And do you remember the impact on the town?
It was quite an impact, because Kai, up till that time, or a few years before that time, it was everything was in the town we actually needed, with shops and chemists and like the panty factory, all the bits and pieces were here. We never had to go out of the town to buy things, but once the mine closed down, well, people travelled to Balclutha, or like some of them went to the mill at Milton. Then they were able to get their bits and pieces while they were out of town, and that's when the things slowly started to close down, which was a pity really, but yeah.